I am 28 years old and I got married last Saturday. The day was supposed to be perfect. My husband Leo looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Our families were happy. My friends were all there. Everything felt right. Until the toasts. My maid of honor, Maya, stood up. She has been my best friend since we were 5 years old. I smiled at her, ready for a sweet trip down memory lane. She raised her glass. Her eyes were fixed on me, but her smile was not kind. It was sharp. To the bride, she began, her voice carrying across the quiet room. To the bride who stole my life. A ripple of confused laughter went through the guests. They thought it was a joke, a funny, edgy start to a toast. I tried to laugh too, but the sound caught in my throat. I knew her tone. That was not a joke. I glanced at Leo beside me. He was not laughing. He was not even smiling. He was completely white. His face was a mask of pure panic. He looked from Maya to me, and in his eyes I saw a terror I had never seen before. That is when I knew. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. Maya continued her speech. She talked about our childhood. She told stories that sounded sweet on the surface. But underneath, there was a bitter edge to every word. She talked about how I always got the lead in the school play, how I always got the better grades, how I always seemed to get what I wanted. She made it sound like I had taken these things from her. The guests were not laughing anymore. They were shifting uncomfortably in their seats. My mother was frowning. Leo's hand, which was on my back, was trembling. He would not look at me. He just stared at Maya. His jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to take the microphone from her and tell her to stop. But I was frozen. It felt like a nightmare. My own best friend at my wedding was telling everyone that I was some kind of thief. She ended her toast by raising her glass again. "So let's all raise a glass to Clara," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. The perfect woman who gets the perfect life, no matter who has to pay for it. The silence that followed was deafening. A few people clapped weakly. Most just stared. Maya sat down, a small, triumphant smile on her face. She looked directly at Leo, not me. He looked away, his face still pale. The rest of the reception is a blur. I remember cutting the cake. I remember our first dance. But all I could feel was Leo's tense body against mine. All I could see was the look on his face when Maya started talking. He knew what she was talking about, and he was terrified. We did not speak on the way to the hotel. The silence in the car was heavy and suffocating. I kept replaying Maya's words in my head. The bride who stole my life. What did that mean? And why did it scare my new husband so much? When we got to our room, I turned to him. I had to know. I had to understand what just happened. "Leo, what was that?" I asked. My voice was shaking. He ran a hand through his hair. He still would not look at me. "It was nothing, Clara," he said. "Maya was just being dramatic. You know how she is." "No," I said, my voice getting stronger. "That was not dramatic. That was something else. You went pale. You looked like you saw a ghost. What did she mean she stole her life? What life?" He finally met my eyes. The fear was still there. "She's just jealous," he said. "She's always been a little jealous of you. It was a mean joke. That's all." I knew he was lying. I could feel it in my gut. This was not jealousy. This was something bigger. Something that connected him and my best friend in a way I never knew. My wedding night was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. Instead, it was the night a seed of doubt was planted. A seed that I knew, with absolute certainty, would grow into something that could destroy everything I thought was real. I knew I wouldn't be able to rest until I found out the truth. The perfect day was over. Now, I had to figure out what was left. The next morning, the lie felt even bigger. Leo acted like nothing had happened. He ordered room service and talked about our honeymoon plans. He tried to kiss me, but I pulled away. I could not pretend. The image of his pale face was burned into my mind. "We need to talk about this," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed. He sighed, putting down his coffee cup. "Clara, please, let's not ruin our honeymoon over Maya's stupid games." "It's not a game," I insisted. "She said I stole her life. You look terrified. You're hiding something from me, Leo." "I am not hiding anything," he said, but his voice was tight. "She's your friend. You've known her your whole life. You know she can be over the top." I shook my head. "This was different. You know it was. What is she talking about?" He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city. "She probably thinks you stole me from her," he said, his back to me. "You know they were friends before we started dating." That was true. Maya and Leo had been part of the same larger friend group, but they were never particularly close. Or so I thought. "That doesn't make any sense," I said. "She never acted like she had feelings for you." "Well, maybe she did," he said, turning back to me. His expression was pleading. "Look, can we just drop it? I don't want to spend our first day as husband and wife fighting about Maya." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to let it go and enjoy my honeymoon, but I couldn't. His fear was too real. His denial was too fast. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. He was not just dismissing my concerns. He was actively trying to stop me from looking closer. That told me everything I needed to know. There was a secret, and he would do anything to keep it buried. I decided to change my approach. If he would not tell me, I would find out myself. I would start with Maya. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Leo asked, his voice sharp. "I'm calling her," I said. "I'm going to ask her what she meant." He crossed the room in 2 strides and put his hand over my phone. "Don't," he said. His eyes were wide with that same panic from the wedding. "Don't do that, Clara. You'll just make it worse. She wants to cause drama. Don't give her the satisfaction." His reaction was so extreme it took my breath away. It was not a request. It was a demand. He was genuinely scared of me talking to her. My heart started beating faster. This was much bigger than a little jealousy. I pulled my hand back. "Fine," I said, my voice cold. "I won't call her." He relaxed, just slightly. "Thank you," he said, trying to smile. "Let's just focus on us." I did not smile back. I had lied. I was absolutely going to call her. But now I knew I had to do it when he was not around. The mystery was deepening, and the 2 people I was supposed to trust most in the world were at the center of it. And they were both lying to me. Later that day, Leo went down to the hotel gym. He said he needed to clear his head. The moment the door clicked shut, I grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking as I found Maya's number. I pressed call. It rang 3 times before she picked up. Well, she said. Her voice was smug. "The blushing bride. I was wondering when you'd call." "What was that toast, Maya?" I asked, skipping any greeting. "What did you mean?" There was a pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. "I meant exactly what I said," she replied, her voice losing its smugness and turning hard. "You took my life, Clara. You have everything that was supposed to be mine." My mind was racing. "What are you talking about? What was supposed to be yours?" "Oh, I don't know," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "The career, the recognition, the perfect husband. All of it." I felt a surge of anger. My career? I worked hard for my job. I earned it. And Leo? He chose me. She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Did he? Did he really choose you, or did he just pick the winner he created?" I had no idea what she meant. It sounded like the ramblings of a jealous person. But then I remembered Leo's face. His terror was not because of a simple jealous rant. "You're not making any sense," I said. "Then ask your husband," she shot back. "Ask him about the fellowship. Ask him why he was really at that gallery opening the night you met. Ask him what he did to make sure you got everything you ever wanted. The fellowship. She meant the Albright Fellowship. It was a prestigious arts grant I won right out of college. It launched my entire career as a curator. It was the reason I was able to get my dream job at the museum. It was the foundation of my professional life. What about the fellowship? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Just ask him, Maya said. He knows. He knows everything. And now so do I. She hung up. I stood in the silent hotel room, the phone still pressed to my ear. The Albright Fellowship, the gallery opening. These were the cornerstones of my life story. The fellowship gave me my career. The gallery opening was where I met Leo. I always thought it was a perfect romantic coincidence. He was there with a friend. I was there for work. We bumped into each other, and that was it. But Maya was suggesting it was not a coincidence at all. She was suggesting it was all a setup. My blood ran cold. The winner he created. What did that mean? Did Leo have something to do with me getting the fellowship? It seemed impossible. He was just a business consultant. He had no connections in the art world. At least none that I knew of. Leo came back from the gym an hour later, looking more relaxed. He smiled at me. Feeling better? He asked. I could not smile back. I just looked at him. Really looked at him. I tried to see past the man I loved, the man I had just married. I tried to see the stranger that Maya was talking about. I have a question for you, Leo, I said, my voice steady. Anything, he said, coming over to hug me. I did not move. The Albright Fellowship, I said. Did you have anything to do with me winning it? He froze. His arms dropped from around me. The color drained from his face again, just like at the wedding. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He just stared at me, his eyes filled with that same horrible panic. And in that moment, I knew. Maya was not lying. And my entire life, my entire career, my entire marriage was built on a foundation I knew nothing about. It was all a lie he had kept for 5 years. He finally found his voice. It was hoarse. Where did you hear that? He asked. It doesn't matter where I heard it, I said, my heart pounding in my chest. Is it true? Leo, tell me the truth. He looked down at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. It's complicated, Clara. Complicated? I repeated, my voice rising. What is complicated about it? Did you or did you not have something to do with the biggest achievement of my professional life? He swallowed hard. My father, he said quietly. My father is a major donor to the foundation that runs the Albright. He sits on one of the boards. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I had met his father a dozen times. He was a retired investment banker. He had never once mentioned a connection to the Albright Foundation. Leo had never mentioned it. Your father? I said, feeling dizzy. You never told me that. I know, he said, finally looking at me. His eyes were begging for my understanding. I didn't want you to think that's why you got it, because it's not. Your portfolio was the best one, Clara. Everyone said so. Then why did you hide it? I pressed, crossing my arms. If it was all fair and square, why keep it a secret that your family is a major funder of the grant that made my career? I wanted you to feel like you earned it completely on your own, he said. I didn't want my family's name to cast a shadow on your success. It sounded plausible. It sounded like something a loving partner would do, but it did not explain his terror. It did not explain Maya's words. What does this have to do with Maya? I asked. He stiffened. Nothing, he said quickly. Too quickly. She's just looking for a way to hurt you. She probably found out about my dad's connection and is trying to twist it. I did not believe him, not for a second. She said I stole her life, I reminded him. She was talking about the fellowship, wasn't she? Was she a candidate for it too? He hesitated for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. I don't know, he said. Maybe. It was a long time ago. He was lying again. The lies were piling up, one on top of the other. He was trying to build a wall around the truth, but it was crumbling. I knew he was involved, far more than he was admitting, and I knew Maya was at the heart of it. And the gallery opening? I asked, my voice cold and hard. Where we met, Maya said to ask you why you were really there. Was that a coincidence, Leo? Or was that part of it too? He looked utterly defeated. He sank down onto the edge of the bed and put his head in his hands. Clara, please, he mumbled into his palms. Let's not do this now. Now is the only time we are doing this, I said, standing over him. I just married you. I have a right to know if our entire relationship is based on a lie. He looked up at me, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I love you, Clara, he whispered. That's the only thing that's real. I fell in love with you the moment I saw your work. I just wanted to meet you. The admission hit me like a physical blow. So you came to that gallery opening specifically to meet me? He nodded slowly. A friend of mine who worked at the foundation told me the winner of the fellowship was going to be there. I saw your picture. I read your proposal. I was amazed by you. I had to meet you. I took a step back, a horrible realization dawning on me. So you knew who I was, but you pretended you didn't. You acted like we were two strangers meeting by chance. I didn't want to scare you off, he said, his voice pleading. I didn't want to seem like a stalker. I just wanted a chance to get to know you. I felt sick. Our meet cute, the story I had told all our friends and family 100 times, was a complete fabrication. He had engineered the whole thing. He had approached me under false pretenses. For 5 years, I had cherished that memory. And it was not real. What else isn't real, Leo? I asked, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt. What other parts of my life did you arrange? Nothing, he insisted, standing up. That was it, I swear. I just wanted to meet you. And everything after that, everything we built together, that's real. Our love is real. But I could not hear him. The trust between us had been shattered. He had lied about the fellowship. He had lied about how we met. And he was still lying about Maya. I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that the worst part of the secret was still hidden. And I was going to find it. Our honeymoon was over before it even began. I was married to a man I did not know at all. I told Leo I needed some air. I left the hotel room and walked aimlessly through the city streets. My mind was a whirlwind of confusion and betrayal. Every memory I had of the last 5 years felt tainted. Was his praise for my work genuine, or was it colored by his secret? Were his reassurances during my moments of self-doubt just a way to keep his lie safe? I felt like a puppet whose strings were just revealed. I found a small park and sat on a bench. I needed to think. I needed a plan. Leo was not going to tell me the whole truth. He was too scared. Maya was my only other source of information, but she was hostile and clearly wanted to hurt me. Talking to her directly again would probably just result in more cryptic, painful remarks. I needed evidence. Something concrete that Leo could not deny or twist. I thought back to the beginning. Maya and I had been inseparable growing up. We both loved art. We both dreamed of working in a museum. We were friendly rivals, always pushing each other. But I never felt any real malice from her. Not until recently. The jealousy had started to creep in a few years ago, around the time I started getting promotions at work. She was struggling as a freelance graphic designer. I had tried to help her, connecting her with people I knew, but nothing ever seemed to work out for her. I had chalked it up to bad luck and a difficult industry. Now I wondered if there was more to it. The fellowship. It all came back to the fellowship. That was the fork in the road where my life had taken off and hers had stalled. She had said, "You have everything that was supposed to be mine." She believed she was supposed to win that fellowship. I pulled out my phone and did a quick search for the Albright Fellowship from 5 years ago. The foundation's website was slick and professional. I found the page for the year I won. There was my photo, my name, and a short bio. I scrolled down, looking for a list of finalists or notable runners-up. There was nothing. The foundation was very private about its selection process. I needed to find a way in. I needed to know if Maya had even applied. I tried to remember that time. We were both in our final year of college. We were both frantically putting together our portfolios, applying for jobs and grants. I was almost certain she had mentioned applying for the Albright. It was the biggest prize for any young artist or curator. It would have been strange if she hadn't. I decided to call my other bridesmaid, Sarah. Sarah was a college friend. She was not as close to me as Maya was, but she was level-headed and observant. She had never been Maya's biggest fan. She always said Maya had a sharp edge. At the time, I had defended Maya. Now I thought Sarah's assessment was probably an understatement. I called her. She answered on the first ring. "Clara, how's the honeymoon? Are you okay?" That toast was... Wow. "I'm not okay, Sarah," I said, my voice cracking. "I think I'm in serious trouble." "What is it? What's wrong?" she asked, her tone immediately shifting to one of concern. I told her everything. About Leo's pale face. About my conversation with him in the hotel room. About his father's connection to the foundation. About Maya's cryptic phone call. I laid it all out. Sarah was silent for a long moment after I finished. "Oh, Clara," she said finally. "That's a lot. I always knew there was something off about Maya, but this is next level. Do you remember if she applied for the Albright Fellowship back in school?" I asked. "Oh, she definitely did," Sarah said without hesitation. "She was obsessed with it. She talked about it nonstop for months. She was convinced she was going to win. She said her portfolio was a sure thing. When you won instead, she was devastated. She didn't talk to anyone for like a week. I thought she was just being a sore loser, honestly." A sick feeling washed over me. So Maya had applied, and she had been confident she would win. "Did she ever say why she was so confident?" I asked. "I don't know," Sarah said, thinking. "She was always a bit arrogant about her work. But now that you mention Leo's dad, that's weird, Clara. Really weird. Did Leo know Maya back then?" "He said they were in the same friend group," I told her. "But not close." Sarah said. "I don't know. I feel like I remember seeing them talking once at a party, long before you and Leo ever met. They seemed pretty friendly, but maybe I'm misremembering." No, I thought. She was not misremembering. Leo had lied about that too. He was minimizing his connection to her. He and Maya knew each other better than he was letting on. There was a history there that predated me. "Sarah, I need a favor," I said. "A huge one. You work in tech, right? You know about computers and stuff." "Yeah, I'm a coder," she said. "What do you need?" "I need to find out who the other finalists were for the Albright that year," I said. "I need to know if Maya was one of them. The foundation's website doesn't say. Is there any way to find that information? Like in old web pages or archives or something?" "It's possible," Sarah said. "Large organizations sometimes have less secure parts of their old websites. Or sometimes documents get leaked or archived by web crawlers. It's a long shot, but I can look. I have some tools that might be able to dig something up. It's not exactly legal, Clara." "I don't care," I said, my voice hard. "I need to know the truth, whatever it is." "Okay," she said. "Okay, I'll see what I can do. But you need to be careful. Leo is hiding something big, and Maya is clearly out for blood. You're caught in the middle of something that started a long time ago." We hung up, and I felt a small flicker of hope. Sarah was on my side. She believed me. Now, I had to go back to the hotel room and face my husband. I had to pretend that everything was fine while I waited for Sarah to find the proof I needed. I had to play the part of the happy newlywed, all while feeling like my world was collapsing around me. The game had begun, and I had to play it better than he did. Walking back into the hotel room was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. Leo was sitting on the couch, staring at his phone. He looked up when I came in, his face etched with worry. "There you are," he said, standing up. "I was getting worried. Are you okay?" I forced a small smile. "Yeah, I'm okay. I just needed to walk. Clear my head." He came over and took my hands. His were warm, mine were ice cold. "I'm sorry, Clara," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry I kept the stuff about my dad in the gallery from you. I was wrong. I was just scared. I didn't want you to think less of me or to think your accomplishments weren't your own." He was giving me the simplified, sanitized version of the truth. He was hoping I would accept it so we could move on. A week ago, I would have. I would have forgiven him instantly, reassured by his apology. But now I knew better. His apology was just another form of manipulation, designed to stop me from digging deeper. I had to pretend to accept it. "It's okay," I said, pulling my hands away gently. "It was a shock, but I understand why you did it. I just wish you had told me." Relief washed over his face. He actually believed I was letting it go. It made my stomach turn. "I know," he said. "I should have. From now on, no more secrets, I promise." "No more secrets," I repeated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. For the next 2 days, I played the part of a wife on her honeymoon. We went sightseeing. We had fancy dinners. We smiled for pictures. But on the inside, I was a bundle of nerves. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped, thinking it was Sarah. Every time Leo looked at me, I wondered what he was hiding. The intimacy between us was gone. When he touched me, I had to fight the urge to flinch. I felt like I was living with a stranger. On the third day, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. My heart leaped into my throat. The text said, "Found something. It's not good. Call me when you're alone." I felt a jolt of adrenaline. This was it. I told Leo I was going to the hotel spa for a few hours. He seemed happy that I was doing something for myself, happy that things were seemingly back to normal. The moment I was in the elevator, I called her. "What did you find?" I asked, my voice tense. "It took a lot of digging," Sarah said. "The foundation has its security locked down tight, but I found a cached version of a temporary subdomain from their site from 5 years ago. It looks like it was a portal for the judges to review the final round candidates. It was only live for about 2 weeks, but a search engine archived it before it was taken down." "And?" I pushed. "Was Maya on the list?" "She was, Clara," Sarah said softly. "There were 3 finalists. You were one. A guy from California was another. And the third was Maya." I closed my eyes, leaning against the elevator wall. So it was true. She was a finalist. She was so close. "But that's not the bad part," Sarah continued, her voice grim. "The portal also had the judges' initial scores and comments attached to each portfolio. It looks like it was their first round assessment before the final deliberation." "Okay," I said, my breath catching. "Clara, according to the initial scores, Maya was ranked number 1, by a significant margin. The judges' comments on her portfolio were glowing. They called her proposal visionary and a paradigm shift. Your portfolio was ranked number 2. The comments were good, very positive, but not like hers. According to this data, she was the clear frontrunner. She should have won." The elevator doors opened, but I did not move. I could not feel my legs. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Maya was supposed to win. She was not just a sore loser. She was right. The fellowship, the very thing my entire adult life was built on, should have been hers. "How?" I whispered. "How did I win then? If she was ranked first?" "I don't know," Sarah said. "The data ends there. There's no record of the final deliberation, just the initial rankings. But something happened between that initial scoring and the final announcement that made them change their minds and give it to you instead. I knew what had happened. It was not a what, it was a who. Leo. Or more specifically, Leo's father. He was on the board, a major donor. A quiet word, a little pressure, a suggestion that the second place candidate had a more marketable vision. It would have been easy. So easy to tip the scales. And there's one more thing, Clara, Sarah said, her voice hesitant. I was looking into Leo's dad, just to see what I could find. He wasn't just a donor. For a 6-month period 5 years ago, covering the exact time of the fellowship selection process, he was appointed as the interim head of the selection committee. The main judge had a family emergency and had to step down. And your father-in-law stepped in to oversee the final decision. I felt the last bit of air leave my lungs. It was not just a little pressure. It was a direct intervention. Leo's father had personally handed me Maya's career. And Leo had known. He had known the whole time. He had watched me celebrate. He had watched me build a life on a prize I didn't truly earn. He had let me believe I was a success, when I was actually the beneficiary of a colossal fraud. And Maya knew. She had found out somehow. This was the life I had stolen. This was why she hated me. This was why Leo was terrified. His perfect life with his perfect wife was built on a crime. And Maya was the one person who could prove it. I finally understood the full scope of the betrayal. It was not just about a lie between a husband and a wife. It was about a conspiracy that had altered the course of 2 lives. And I had been the unwitting, happy beneficiary. The thought made me feel dirtier than anything else. I thanked Sarah, my voice a hollow echo of itself. I hung up the phone and stood in the hallway of the spa, surrounded by the scent of lavender and the sound of soft music. It felt like a funeral. It was the death of the life I thought I had. The woman who had won the fellowship, the woman who had earned her place in the world, she was not real. She was a fiction created by my husband and his father. My sadness quickly hardened into a cold, clear rage. They had all lied to me. Leo with his gentle deceptions, his father with his hidden power, and Maya with her bitter, vengeful games. She could have told me the truth years ago, but she had waited. She had waited until my wedding day to drop her bomb, ensuring maximum damage. She did not want justice. She wanted revenge. She wanted to see my world burn. Well, I thought, 2 can play at that game. They thought I was just the happy, oblivious prize. They had underestimated me. I was not going to fall apart. I was going to get to the bottom of this. And then I was going to make every single one of them pay for what they did. The first step was to confront Leo. But this time, I would not be asking questions. I would be presenting evidence. And I would not stop until I heard every last ugly detail of the truth. I went back to the room. I did not bother with an excuse. I walked in and found Leo on the phone. He was laughing about something. He saw me and his smile faded. He quickly ended the call. Hey, he said. I thought you were at the spa. The spa can wait, I said, my voice dangerously calm. I walked over to the table and put my phone down. I had taken screenshots of everything Sarah had sent me. The list of finalists, the judge's initial scores, the document showing his father's position as interim head of the committee. I swiped to the first image and pushed the phone towards him. What is this? He asked, picking it up. He looked at the screen. I watched his face as the recognition dawned. I watched the color drain away again. I watched his hand start to shake. He swiped to the next picture. And the next. With each one, his composure crumbled a little more. When he got to the last one, the one naming his father, he let out a sound that was half gasp, half sob. He dropped the phone on the table as if it had burned him. Clara, he whispered, looking up at me. His eyes were wide with a new kind of fear. Not just the fear of being caught, the fear of finality, the fear of me. How did you get this? That doesn't matter, I said, my voice like ice. What matters is that I know. I know everything. Maya was ranked number 1. Your father was in charge of the final decision, and I won. So I want you to tell me right now exactly what happened. No more lies, No more half-truths. The whole story. Or I walk out of this hotel and you will never see me again. He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing. He was seeing a side of me he had never seen before. The compliant, trusting woman he had married was gone. In her place was someone who would not be dismissed or placated. Someone who was demanding answers. Finally, he collapsed into a chair. He buried his face in his hands. His shoulders shook. "I'm so sorry," he wept. "I'm so sorry." "I don't want your apology," I said, my voice unwavering. "I want the truth." He took a deep, shuddering breath and began to speak. The story that came out was uglier than anything I could have imagined. It started long before the fellowship. It started with him and Maya. They had been friends, he admitted. Close friends. Closer than he had ever let on. In college, they had been part of a tight-knit group. He had always admired her talent and ambition. "She was brilliant," he said, his voice muffled by his hands. Everyone knew it. She was going to be a huge star in the art world. She had this fire in her. He told me that he had been the one to encourage her to apply for the Albright. He had helped her with her application. He had read her proposal. He knew how good it was. He was her biggest cheerleader. Around the same time, his father was asked to step in as the interim head of the committee. It was just a coincidence, he swore. A bit of bad timing. He had access to the committee's internal portal through his father. He was just curious, he said. He wanted to see how Maya was doing. He logged in and saw the initial rankings. He saw her at number 1. He was thrilled for her. But then, he said, he scrolled down. And he saw my name at number 2. He clicked on my portfolio out of simple curiosity. "And that was it," he whispered, looking up at me, his face streaked with tears. "I saw your work, and then I saw your picture. And I was gone. It was like I had been sleepwalking my whole life, and I suddenly woke up. I read your proposal, and it was like I was reading my own thoughts. I knew in that moment that I had to meet you. I had to know you." He became obsessed. He read everything he could find about me. He convinced himself that we were soulmates, but I was just a name on a list. He was a business student from a wealthy family. Our paths would never cross. Unless I won the fellowship. If I won, I would be at the foundation's gala. I would be celebrated. I would be accessible. "So you asked your father to do it?" I said, my voice flat. I felt a profound sense of detachment, as if I were watching a movie about someone else's life. He nodded, shamefaced. "I didn't even have to ask," he said. "I just mentioned you." I told him I thought your work was incredible. I said your vision for community art was more practical and had a wider appeal than Maya's more academic proposal. I planted the seed. He wants me to be happy. He thought he was doing a good thing for me. So, with a few casual words from his son, his father had destroyed one career and created another. It was that simple. A quiet conversation, a little family favoritism, and the course of 2 lives was irrevocably changed. "And then you arranged our meeting," I said. He nodded again. "I found out you would be at that gallery opening. I made sure I was there. I practiced what I was going to say 100 times. I was so nervous. But it was just like I dreamed. We started talking, and we didn't stop." "And Maya?" I asked, the final piece of the puzzle. "What happened with her? How did she find out?" He flinched at her name. "She was destroyed when she lost," he said. She couldn't understand it. She knew she was the best. She started asking questions. She became convinced that someone had cheated her. She spent a year digging. She has always been relentless. She called old contacts. She spoke to junior people at the foundation. Eventually, someone talked. Someone hinted that the new interim head had taken a special interest in the second-place candidate. It wasn't hard for her to connect the dots from there. His son, me, suddenly dating the winner. It all added up. And then she came to you, I concluded. Yes, he said, his voice barely audible. She confronted me. She had figured it all out. She was furious. She said she was going to expose the whole thing. Ruin my father, ruin me, and ruin you. My blood ran cold. Ruin me? I didn't do anything wrong. It wouldn't have mattered, he said, looking at me with dead eyes. You would have been seen as the girl who only got ahead because of her rich boyfriend's daddy. Your work, your talent, it all would have been dismissed. The scandal would have destroyed your reputation before your career even began. I couldn't let that happen. So he made a deal with her. A devil's bargain. What did you give her? I asked. He looked away, unable to meet my gaze. Money, he said. A lot of it. I set up a monthly payment to her, enough for her to live on comfortably, in exchange for her silence. I stared at him, horrified. It was not just a lie. It was blackmail. My best friend had been extorting money from my husband for years. And the money was the price of my career, my happiness, my ignorance. So all this time, I said slowly, the pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. All these years when she was struggling and I was trying to help her. She was taking your money? She was pretending to be my friend while she was bleeding you dry? Yes, he admitted. She wanted more than just the money, though. She wanted to stay in your life. She said it was part of the deal. She wanted to be close enough to watch, to see you living the life she thought was hers. It was a kind of torture for her, I think. And for me. That explained everything. Her constant presence, her backhanded compliments, the subtle ways she tried to undermine my confidence. She had appointed herself my personal tormentor. A constant reminder of the secret debt that my life was built upon. And she had made me her maid of honor. The ultimate twisted joke. To stand beside me at my wedding, a living symbol of the lie at the heart of my marriage. The toast, I said. Why now? Why did she do it now? I don't know, he said, shaking his head. Maybe the wedding was too much for her. Or maybe the money wasn't enough anymore. Maybe she just wanted to see it all burn. I stood there in the silence of the hotel room, looking at the man I had married. He was a stranger. A man who had manipulated my life from the very beginning. A man who had bought my career with his father's influence and paid for my ignorance with hush money. He had done it all, he claimed, because he loved me. But it was not love. It was obsession. It was control. He had not fallen in love with me. He had fallen in love with an idea of me, and he had rearranged the world to make that idea a reality. I was not his partner. I was his creation, his prize. And I had a choice to make. I could let this revelation destroy me, or I could use it. Maya wanted to burn my world down. Leo was terrified of the ashes, but maybe, just maybe, I could be the one to light the match. And I could decide exactly what burned and what was left standing in the end. The fear I had been feeling was gone. In its place was a cold, hard resolve. My honeymoon was over. My real marriage was just beginning. And it was going to be a war. I did not leave him. Not yet. That would have been too easy. For him and for Maya. They had built this elaborate, secret world around me. Now that I was on the inside, I was not just going to walk away. I was going to take control of it. Okay, I said, my voice startlingly calm in the quiet room. Leo looked up, surprised. He had probably expected screaming, crying, a dramatic exit. He did not expect this quiet, cold acceptance. Okay? He repeated, confused. You are going to do exactly what I say, I told him, my tone leaving no room for argument. First, you are going to stop paying her. Today, you will cancel the payment immediately. Panic flashed in his eyes. Clara, I can't. She'll expose everything. She'll go to the press. She'll ruin us. No, she won't, I said, because we are going to get ahead of her. We are going to take away her power. Her only power is this secret. Once it's not a secret anymore, she has nothing. He stared at me, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? You want to tell people? You want to admit that your fellowship was a fraud? I don't want to admit anything, I said. I am going to reframe the narrative, and you are going to help me. I spent the next hour laying out my plan. It was audacious. It was risky. But it was the only way I could see to reclaim my own life and career from the mess they had made. Leo listened, his expression shifting from terror to a kind of reluctant admiration. He had created a victim, but he was quickly realizing he had married a strategist. The first part of the plan involved his father. I told Leo to call him, right now, with me in the room. Leo protested. He said his father was old, that this would break his heart. Your father broke my trust, I said, unmoved. He meddled in my life in the most profound way possible. He doesn't get to be protected from the consequences. Make the call. With trembling hands, Leo dialed his father's number and put it on speakerphone. An elderly, cheerful voice answered. Leo, how's the honeymoon, son? Leo looked at me, his eyes pleading. I gave him a sharp, uncompromising nod. Dad, Leo said, his voice strained. We need to talk. It's about the Albright Fellowship, the one Clara won 5 years ago. The cheerful voice on the other end of the line went quiet. What about it? His father asked, his tone suddenly cautious. I know what you did, Leo said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I know you intervened to make sure she won over Maya, and Clara knows too. There was a long, heavy silence. I could picture the old man on the other end, his comfortable world suddenly shaken. I did what I thought was best for you, son, he finally said, his voice quiet and defensive. I saw how taken you were with the girl. I wanted to see you happy. You didn't do it for me, Dad, Leo said, a surprising amount of strength in his voice. You did it for you. You have always tried to control my life, to make sure I have the right wife and the right career. This was just another move on your chessboard. It was a side of Leo I had never seen. For the first time, he was standing up to his father. He was finally seeing the manipulation that had governed his own life as well as mine. That's not fair, his father protested. It's the truth, Leo said. And now there are consequences. A woman's career was derailed because of what you did. And she knows it. She has been making our lives a living hell. What does she want? His father asked, his voice sharp with the practicality of a man used to solving problems with money. Does she want a payout? No, I said, speaking for the first time. My voice was clear and strong. I don't want a payout. I want you to fix it. Publicly. What do you mean publicly? He asked, startled to hear my voice. I mean, I said, spelling it out for him, that the Albright Foundation is going to create a new grant, a special grant for artists whose work was overlooked in previous years. It will be a very generous grant, and the first recipient of this grant is going to be Maya. Your foundation will release a statement saying that a review of past applications has uncovered an injustice, and you are now making it right. You will praise her original proposal. You will give her the recognition she should have had 5 years ago. There was another long silence. He was processing the audacity of my demand. I was not asking for hush money. I was asking for a public admission of error, framed as a noble act of correction. I was asking him to launder his guilt through philanthropy. That could be very embarrassing for the foundation, he said slowly. It will be far more embarrassing if Maya goes to a reporter with bank statements proving your son has been paying her blackmail money for 5 years because you rigged a prestigious fellowship, I countered. This way, you control the story. The foundation looks accountable and generous. Maya gets her due, and the problem goes away. He knew I was right. I had him trapped. He could either suffer a quiet, managed bit of institutional embarrassment, or he could face a massive public scandal that would tarnish his name, his son's name, and the foundation's reputation forever. All right, he said, the word heavy with defeat. I'll make some calls. I'll get it done. You'll do it tomorrow, I said. And you will send me the draft of the press release before it goes out. I want to approve it. He agreed. We hung up the phone. Leo stared at me, a mixture of awe and fear in his eyes. You were incredible, he said. This doesn't fix us, I told him, my voice cold. This just fixes the problem with your father and Maya. You and I are something else entirely. The next step was dealing with Maya. Now that her public vindication was being arranged, I had to handle the private fallout. I had to take away her last bit of power over me. Leo had stopped the payments. I knew she would be calling, furious and confused. I was ready for her. The call came the next afternoon. I let Leo answer it. I stood beside him, listening. Where's my money, Leo? Maya's voice was like acid through the phone's speaker. The payments have stopped, Maya, Leo said, his voice shaking slightly. He looked at me and I nodded, giving him strength. What did you say? She shrieked. Do you have any idea what I'm going to do? I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to ruin her. I will tell everyone everything. It's over, Leo said, his voice getting stronger. Clara knows. She knows everything. There was a stunned silence on Maya's end. This was not how she had planned this. She had wanted to be the one to tell me. To watch me crumble. Leo had taken that from her. Put her on the phone, Maya demanded. Leo handed the phone to me. Hello, Maya, I said, my voice calm and even. You, she hissed. You think you're so clever, don't you? You think because you know it's all over? I can still destroy you. I can still tell the world you're a fraud. Go ahead, I said, enjoying her shock. Tell them. And while you're at it, you can explain the bank statements that show you've been accepting blackmail money for 5 years. I'm sure the police will be very interested in that. Extortion is a serious crime, Maya. Another silence. I had turned her greatest weapon, the secret, into my greatest defense. If she talked, she would incriminate herself. What do you want? She finally asked, her voice small and defeated. I want you to listen, I said. In the next few days, you are going to hear from the Albright Foundation. They are going to award you a special grant. They are going to publicly state that your work was overlooked and that they are correcting a past mistake. You will get the money and the recognition you deserve. It will be your win, your public vindication. She was confused. Why would you do that? Because unlike you, I don't believe in destroying people, I said. I believe in justice. You were wronged. This is how it gets made right. You will accept the grant. You will make a gracious statement. And then you will disappear from my life. Forever. You will not call me. You will not call Leo. You will block our numbers. You will move on. If you ever contact us again, in any way, I will go to the police with the proof of your extortion. Do you understand me? She did not answer for a long time. I could hear her breathing, the sound of her world being turned upside down. She had spent 5 years fueled by hatred and a sense of injustice. I was giving her the justice she craved, but on my terms. I was taking away her hatred, leaving her with nothing to hold on to. It was a more elegant and more complete revenge than simply exposing her. I was giving her what she wanted, and in doing so, I was banishing her. Yes, she finally whispered. I understand. Good, I said. And I hung up. I looked at Leo. He looked drained, but also relieved. The two biggest threats in his life, his controlling father and his vengeful blackmailer, had been neutralized. By me. In less than 24 hours. Now, I said, turning to him, we talk about us. The conversation about our marriage was the hardest one of all. There were no more secrets to uncover. There was just the raw, painful truth of what he had done. He had loved me, yes, but his love was possessive and controlling. He had not trusted me to make my own way in the world. He had not trusted our love to bloom on its own. He had cheated. He had rigged the game from the start. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Leo," I told him, the words feeling heavy and final. "Everything we have is built on a lie. How can we move forward from that?" "We can start over," he pleaded. "We can build something real this time. I can earn your trust back. I'll do anything, Clara." I looked at him, at the man I had promised to love for the rest of my life just a few days ago. I saw the desperation in his eyes. I saw his remorse. And I saw that he still did not fully understand the depth of his betrayal. He thought trust was something you could earn back, like points in a game. He did not understand that for me it was something that, once shattered, could never be truly whole again. There would always be cracks. There would always be a before and an after. "I need time," I said. "I need space. I'm going home. To my apartment." I still had the lease on my old place, which I had been planning to give up at the end of the month. Now it felt like a lifeline. "No, Clara, don't leave," he begged. "This is our honeymoon." "Our honeymoon ended at our wedding reception, Leo," I said, turning away to pack my bag. When my best friend toasted to the life I had apparently stolen, and my husband went pale with guilt. The aftermath was quiet and swift. Just as I had planned, the foundation issued a press release 2 days later. It was beautifully worded, full of praise for Maya's groundbreaking early work and the foundation's commitment to rectifying historical oversights. Maya was awarded the new Albright Phoenix Grant, which was even more money than the original fellowship had been. The art world buzzed about it for a few days. Maya was interviewed by a few blogs. She was gracious and poised. She said she was grateful for the second chance and was excited to get back to her curatorial work. She played her part perfectly. And then, as promised, she disappeared. Her number was disconnected. Her social media went private. She was gone. My father-in-law had been humbled. Our relationship was polite but strained. He knew I held all the cards. He treated me with a new, wary respect. He had tried to shape my life, and I had ended up shaping his. I moved back into my old apartment. It felt strange to be there, surrounded by the furniture and art of my single life. But it also felt right. It felt like my own space, a space that Leo had not curated for me. I went back to work at the museum. The first day was hard. I walked through the galleries, looking at the art I had acquired, the exhibits I had designed. I felt like a fraud. I kept waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and tell me I did not belong there. But no one did. My colleagues were happy to see me. My boss praised my latest project. I realized that whatever had happened 5 years ago, whatever unfair advantage had opened the door for me, the work I had done since then was my own. I had earned my reputation. I had proven my talent over and over again. The fellowship had been a lie, but my career was not. That realization was a small, hard-won piece of peace. Leo called me every day. He sent texts. He sent flowers. He begged me to see him, to go to therapy with him, to give him another chance. For weeks, I said no. I needed to heal on my own terms. I needed to rediscover the person I was without his influence. Finally, after a month of living apart, I agreed to meet him for coffee. He looked tired. He had lost weight. The confidence he always wore like a well-tailored suit was gone. He seemed smaller, more human. He did not make excuses. He did not try to justify what he did. He just apologized. "I was a coward," he said, looking down at his cup. "I was so in love with you and so insecure. I thought I needed to give you the world to deserve you. I didn't realize that all you wanted was me, the real me. And I hid him from you. I am so sorry for that, Clara. I am sorry for taking away your right to choose your own path. And I am sorry for breaking your trust." It was the apology I had needed to hear. It was the first time he seemed to understand the true nature of his crime. It was not about the fellowship or the money or Maya. It was about his lack of faith in me and in us. I did not know what to say. The anger I had been holding on to had softened, replaced by a deep, weary sadness. I looked at the man across the table. Was there enough left to rebuild? Could I ever look at him without remembering the lie? I don't know, Leo, I said honestly. I don't know if we can fix this, but maybe we can try to get to know each other, for the first time, with no secrets. It was not a promise. It was not forgiveness. It was just a possibility. A tiny sliver of light in the darkness. He nodded, his eyes filling with a hope that was painful to see. We started slowly. Coffee dates, walks in the park. We talked for hours, not about the past, but about the future. About who we wanted to be. He started seeing a therapist on his own. He started being honest, brutally honest, about his fears and his family's influence on him. I started to see the man he could be, the man who had been buried under years of privilege and pressure. It has been 6 months now. I am still living in my apartment. We are still just dating. Some days are good. Some days a shadow of the past falls over us, and I feel the old anger and mistrust rise up. But we talk about it. We face it together. We are building something new, brick by painful brick. I don't know if it will ever be a marriage again, but it is something real. I sometimes wonder about Maya. I hope the grant gave her a real second chance. I hope she found a way to build her own life. A life that is not defined by what was taken from her. She was a victim in all of this, too. A victim of my father-in-law's arrogance and my husband's obsession. I don't forgive her for the blackmail or the cruelty of her toast, but I understand the bitterness that drove her to it. She got her justice. I got my truth. And Leo got the consequences he deserved. My perfect wedding day turned into the beginning of the end of my perfect life. But I have learned that perfect is just another word for a beautiful, fragile lie. I would rather have this messy, complicated, difficult, and honest reality. It's not the life I thought I wanted, but it's the one I am choosing for myself. And for the first time, I know without a doubt that it is mine. I earned it.